$9 billion in budget gaps. That represents a third of state spending. Imagine your own household budget going away, a third of it at a time. But we have closed that budget gap through some very, very painful decisions and delivered 3 budgets now that are responsible, balanced, and on time, which is not something many other states can say. Meanwhile, we are first in the nation in student achievement, first in the nation in health care coverage for our residents, first in the nation in clean and alternative energy policy, as the President himself came to MIT to say. None of that by accident, because we have focused on it. And every one of those achievements, every one of them, is in jeopardy depending on the outcome of this election. Every single one. We have made some very hard decisions around reforms, faced up to some big questions that we've been talking about in this Commonwealth for decades. We've ended the abuses in the state pension system. Welcome. We have tightened the ethics and lobbying rules. We've simplified the transportation bureaucracy and shut down the Turnpike Authority. We have introduced competition into auto insurance, which has brought all of your rates down, and 14 new companies into the Commonwealth and hundreds of jobs. You may have seen that Liberty Mutual today announced 1,000 new jobs here. That is because of what we've been doing. Of all the reforms, the one I'm proudest of is the one we were able to sign on Martin Luther King Day, which was education reform. Probably the most significant step forward in ed reform in 17 years. Because for all of the good that has happened in our public schools and continues to happen in our public schools, there is an achievement gap, and it has persisted. And trapped in that achievement gap are poor children, and children with special needs or who speak English as a second language. More often than not, children of color. That's an educational problem, it's an economic problem, it's a moral issue as well. Those are our kids as well. And now we have some tools to be able to get at that. And by the way, you can marry anyone you love here in the Commonwealth. Yay! Anyone you love. Now, all of that is great. And there is more. But we're not done. You know, it's great to have tools to close the achievement gap, but we still have an achievement gap to close. It's terrific that 97.4% of our residents are insured today with health insurance, but we still have to get the cost down to individuals and small businesses, to everybody, municipalities as well. It is terrific that we have positioned ourselves for the economy of tomorrow in the life sciences and clean tech, in IT, in healthcare and education, the very industries that are leading us slowly but surely out of this recession, but we still have a lot of people out of work. And folks who need to be transitioned to that new economy. And it is terrific, terrific that we've done so much work together to open up civic and political life to people who hadn't participated before or who had checked out. But that has to be sustained and become a habit. We have to still learn and relearn a kind of politics that says we don't have to agree on everything before we can work together on anything. So I am running for a second term because I want to finish what we started. And I need your help. This is going to be a tough race. And you know what? It ought to be. It ought to be. It ought to be competitive. We ought to have to stand up for what it is we believe in. This notion that government has a role to play, not in solving every problem in everybody's life, but in helping people help themselves. And that is the question at stake in this election.